use my affiliate link to support the channel down in the description. Anyways, let's get into this. First deck list is by the man himself, Taso Talker. Let's see, I have to change a few things, hold guys. Alright, so we have Taso Talker's list, 48 cards. Pretty tight list with 2 Mercurier, 3 Cartesia. You're starting to see Bestial Luber come into people's builds, with Raul running it in his second place, and then also I'm also running it in a lot of my builds right now. I think it's pretty good. It's a really good option to send off a Saranir. I think it works a lot better in a build with multiple Bestials, though. You kind of need, like... So, like, for that reason, I'd probably cut in this list, especially with only 1 High Spirit, but still not a bad option to have. It's pretty good board breaking against fire decks, or sorry, dragon decks. You see the Super Poly Droplet engine, almost like the Clifton list, and then you added a bit more gas. With 2 loss, I'd probably remove the 2 loss. I think 1 is just fine. I mean, like, honestly, just because you added numbers, I think it's looking pretty good, honestly. Like, maybe what you could do is also run Nadir, but I think as it stands, the main deck's pretty good. Just cut that Bestial Luber, maybe 2 brand red, and then the second lost. Extra deck's quite good. Double Mirror Jade, Querdis, Masquerade. You have, I think you just need a Boral somewhere in there. I'd probably cut Boral or Masquerade for Boral. I think you need an option to deal with all the stun decks. And then the side deck's looking pretty good. I like the Simul Archfiend versus Tenpai. However, I think it's a bit too specific of a matchup, just depending on what you're expecting, though. Because if you're expecting a lot of link decks, I feel like Simul Archfiend's quite good. I think Nib is quite good in a smaller build like this too. Okay, I don't know if Taze is in the chat, but here's Day's list. Cooking. He has the Patchwork engine in the main with that Jimp, with the Allure package at 50 cards, with the Adlib, 2 Mirror Jade with the Masquerade and the Boral, with the Garura with Nadir. Yeah, that is pretty spicy. Those are spicy ratios. Somewhat spicy. I think you want to go for 2 Quem in a build like this. I think Quem is still a 2 of, in my opinion, but if you have it at 1, you have it at 1. I think Adlib isn't the most necessary, just adds to bricking in this build. Double Guignol is also probably what you want over the Masquerade, in my opinion, but I understand having Masquerade with Poly in the deck. Side deck, Bestials are kind of whatever right now, but the rest of it is really good. I think you need Droplet in the main as well. I think you can't just be Droplet or Super Poly. I mean, you can. I mean, you don't have Thrust either, though. That's a thing. So you need something to board break. Yeah, you need something to board break in this deck, or else you're just going to lose going second unless you see Patchwork, and sometimes that's just not enough. Unamuse Waffle, why would you rather have 2 Quem over 1? Because it helps you play through... I mean, you have so many more combo lines with 2 Quem, and also if you just draw your Quem, you can't even spec off of Titanclad. You need the second for playing into a grind game, too. If you get into a grind game, you're going to miss your second Quem every time, especially when you get nibbed. Here's Slendermancers. We can review the cooking we did. He went 4-0 at locals with this tier list. We cooked it in the Discord earlier, or a few days ago. 50 card list, 2 Hell Shadal. Gonna roast you on that immediately. You should have cut the 2, but I hope it worked out at the locals. Besides that, the list is very cool. I think Tearlament is a list or a deck that can actually run over 40 cards pretty easy, but you don't see a lot of people doing it. Just have to hit good mills and have a well-built deck, which he does here for with the Horus package, with the 3 Fenrir. How did you like the 3 Fenrir? Did you brick on it? Then you have the Tier Engine plus the 3 Reina Hearts. Then you have the 2 Danger Nessies plus the 2 Mothman plus the Jackalope. Kind of spicy there. How did you end up liking the Jackalope? And he is the King of the Swamp too. No Poly though. King of the Swamp obviously facilitating things like Rulu. You could also facilitate the Dark World fusion, but he chose not to run that this time around. He does have a bigger board breaker package than traditional with the Fenrir, with the Super Polys and the double tactics. I like that. And you have the Shadal Schism with the Hell Shadal and the Beast, so definitely gives you lots of lines, because then you have a Winda, you have Dangerous, you have Stapelia plus Rulu to go into, plus the Super Poly package, very good. And then you have the extra deck of Toad, Baguska, Time Thief, Bahamut, and Beatrice. Really the only Xyzes you need in Tearlaments, and then you have the 1 IP. I'd maybe consider running Apo in a build like this for sure. And then cutting the Hell Shadal down to 1. Maybe getting around 45 cards would help. But obviously the build's pretty fire. I think Bestials on the side are very good. You can even main Bestials if you want to look for other things to stay around 50, because they combo very well with Beatrice and their darks as well. But I think you have enough dark access between the Horus engine and everything. And then you have the D barrier, the thrust, very good, very good. Nico's experimenting with this right now, though I feel like 2 Tragedy and 2 Merc might be kind of bricky. Hasn't backfired so far, though. Well, I was hoping you were going to be on Allure, so glad to see. Yeah, no, I think when you're running Allure, you want to run a 2-1 ratio of Allure and Tragedy. You decide which one, or sorry, of Tragedy and Mercurial. You kind of have to decide which one is better for your deck at 2. I think you could run the 2-2, but that's just going to lead to more bricks, especially not. I would only recommend 2-2 at 60, so I'd probably, looking at this build, probably go to 1 Tragedy, but you are running the High Spirits, so Mercurial is a High Spirits bridge. Besides that, the main deck's very good. Side deck or extra deck's just fine. Side deck, we see 3 Fusion Duplication. I think this is something that people are starting to do for going first in the side deck, as well as playing through hand traps and playing through D-Barrier. I don't love it for the latter reason of playing through D-Barrier, because I think a smart player will know that Branded has Fusion Duplication as a card and will not just D-Barrier on the Branded Fusion. Now, I don't think this is something that basically most players are doing, but this is something to consider when Nadir Servant's just a card that could play around just people thinking out how to D-Barrier a Branded player, just, you know, a little bit more. Obviously certain decks just can't OTK, so I guess that's why it's also correct to D-Barrier on Branded Fusion. I just think a lot of the time Fusion Duplication can be dead because of that, but I do think it's a very good going first option no matter what in the side deck, so I like it. Droll on the side is like kind of whatever with this format. I think Nib is a bit better, honestly, and then or Ash. And then you have the Dark Rulers plus Masquerade for, you know, time and all that fun, then Cosmics. Very solid list. Abyss Walker 198. This Sunday there's a national in my city. This will be the deck list I'll play, but I'd like some advice just to make sure everything is in correct quantity. 2 Allubers. I go 3 Allubers off the bat, my friend. But usually you want up the Dark Count with Allure, and then 2 Saranir. I don't think I mean, you have 2 High Spirits. I guess I see why you have 2 Saranir with the 3 Shroud. I guess that's okay. I would just personally not even run High Spirits at more than 1 with Allure unless you're like really teching out those ratios. I think you should go Mercury. Yeah, put High Spirits to 1 personally, and put Saranir to 1, and then like and the 3rd Alluber, and then you should be fine. Very good list. I think Allure works, but you just have to be pretty precise on the ratios, or else you can end up bricking a lot on it. Extra deck's good. I like the Albal Lenatus double Guignol. You'll love to see Albal Lenatus. Very good option for fusing off the Tenpai board with Rinbrum. Side deck is interesting with a D-Barrier crossout package with also 3 Ash, 2 Droll. I think 3 Ash is actually pretty fine in our side deck right now with less and less Hitas. So, you know, I think Ash Blossom you're going to see coming back into Branded decks somewhat. Not in full force, but, you know, as a pretty good side and maybe even main option. Then you have Daruma Cannon for the side. I think Daruma's kind of like whatever, but if you cross out Daruma and win because of, hey man, more power to you. It is a good thrust target anyways. Magnuma for the going second Rhoda, I understand, and the Feather Duster. Pretty good side. Tamago with Mikanko. Oh no. So guys, we have 3 of the Fire Mikanko, 3 of the Wind Mikanko, 3 of the Ritual Mikanko, and then you have a bunch of Kaijus, because of course you do. You gotta be able to kill your opponent and attack into them and do damage like Mikankos do. Mikanko's almost like Yubel, but a lot more inadvertent in what it's trying to like do by reverse OTK. And you do main deck 3 Ultimate Slayer, which is really weird, I'm not gonna lie, but you do have the Cherries package, Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, of course, by maining in the extra deck a bunch of targets for that, because of course Mikanko is one of those decks that doesn't need extra deck, so for that reason I'm surprised you're not running Prosperity. I guess no room in the main. This is kind of a troll list. I like the Snatch Steal though. It's not even that bad. This is like what pure Mikanko kind of looks like, honestly, in the main. Outside, I'm curious on the Ultimate Slayer why it's there though. That's definitely, I'm very curious about that. Then we have the Ken and Jen on the side. I'm curious about that too. Like, what's that facilitating? I mean, I can see like maybe, I don't know. And then, yeah, it's funny. You have the Albion for Branded, the Yubel for Yubel, Chimera for Chimera, Runic for Runic, Crimson for anything, Tenpai guy, Herald, Mirror Logic, Noir. Wow, here just hitting everybody. And the Salad and Promethea, that's hilarious. That's so terroristic. You might as well main deck the Ghost Reapers, honestly, dude. Slayer, current list, been thinking about putting Crossout on the side again. This is how I personally think about Crossout on the side. I think Crossout is a bad card. However, I think in a format with a bunch of D-Barrier, I understand just people justifying to run it. I think that there are better options, though, in Nadir Servant, High Spirits, and Nadir High Spirits, and like other things to help play through hand traps, or Fusion Duplications to help play through Ash. and D-Barrier. Really standard main deck. 43 though. 43 cards and you ended up fitting the droplets with the thrust. Pretty good, I like that. 3 Cartesia, just no Super Poly. I feel like this is like an updated Clifton build. I'd probably just have in the Super Polys personally, but that's just me. Obviously, your extra deck is benefiting from not having the Super Polys, being able to run Albalanetus, being able to run Stapelia with ease, with Boral. Alright, I do like the side deck, though. It is Blazing Branded King is one of those really good cards we have to play around Droplet. However, I was kind of explaining my locals. You really shouldn't be losing to Droplet a lot of the time with Branded if you set up the board properly. The weaker hands will lose to Droplet. Nib is fine, especially in 43 card. I think you should be probably definitely maining Nib if you're running a smaller main deck count. Siding Nib, rather. Cosmic, I think Cosmic's still a great option just so you don't auto-lose to Stun and other BS floodgates. Very good, just generally into a lot of different decks. Subject to change by Jake the Mountain Man. He's going to be bringing this to an event soon. Not going to just name drop the event, but... He is maining 3 Book of Eclipse. You'll love to see it. This is a card where it's one of our best board breakers and Branded. However, I think a lot of people have stopped running it ever since a Rise Heart got banned because it used to be our instant out for a Rise Heart. It also helps us play through Imperm, which is what Jake the Mountain Man is doing here, as well as breaking boards. Because, like, against Voiceless Voice, they basically have to use their Omni Negate against Book of Eclipse. It also baits in Ash. It's a quick play, too, so you can obviously just book your own Aluber on Imperm or Veiler to dodge and still get the search very good, honestly, in a Branded deck like this. Alright, and besides that, you have a 44 card main deck, pretty tight. 2 Cartesia, 2 Quem. How do you like the 2 over 3? I think 3 is pretty standard right now. All things considered, because you're able to play through hand traps. However, you do have the Book of Eclipse to play through Imperm, so... Could see maybe skimping on the Cartesia a little. I just think it still helps out Iron Hands out, that you draw too many board breakers. Yeah, and then you have the cross-out package in the side. Yeah, outside the main deck, though, I think it's pretty good. In terms of main deck changes, there isn't too much outside of the Cartesia, is what I meant to say. Really, I like the Book of Eclipses right now. However, I'm not sure if I'm sold on them personally. Certainly something you guys should be testing, though, right now. You do have the double Guignol with the Alba, with Stapelia. Very nice. I think those cards are very necessary right now for dealing with Tenpai and Stun. And then you have the cross-out package with D-Barrier and an Ash Blossom. At that point, I'd get an Imperm too, but hey, that's just me. You do have Lightning Storm. I think Lightning Storm and Evenly are our best board breakers right now on top of Cosmic, so, and the Change of Heart. Very nice, very nice. Even, like, not going for the third Talents, I understand doing the Change of Heart instead because, like, Talents is once per turn while Change of Heart is not, so. Alright, so we have Kenji Neon Wolf in the chat. His work in progress. 46 card main deck. We have our first Dragoon sighting of the night. Hopefully you got your QCR Dragoon. 3 Aluber with the 2 Quem with the Bestial package with Adlib. I think Adlib is one of those cards that you can justify if you're running like 1 Mirror Jade or if you're running less bricks. I think in a build with Nadir and Dark Magician, Adlib's a little bit too much because you are going to be ending. I mean, it's fine. It's probably fine, especially you're not running Droplet. So I think it's probably fine, but Adlib's certainly something I think you could cut in this build. I like the Nadir plus the Dragoon. It's very much similar to my Nats build, honestly. For that reason, I think that there's a few things you could do. You know, I think probably cutting the Dragoon, it's not necessary right now. Just give yourself a little more space. Get yourself a Boral in there, which I think you desperately need against Tenpai. If you don't have Boral or Stapelia, you're really getting cooked by Tenpai pretty hard. I think Lulu's very good against Tenpai, and so is Dragoon. But it's not always the end-all be-all. At all. Slendermancer, oh, sorry, guys. The Twitch chat, like I said, my chat is currently just like very it's very much to the side and it's not optimal for me right now. I'm gonna read some chats. One thing about RC2 fusion deployment goes hard in QCR, brother. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get one Slendermancer chant. Yeah, I already read that. Hey, you grabbed pizza and didn't offer any wild. I know. I'm very much it's all mine with the pizza. 5 people watching on Twitch. I appreciate it, guys. Y'all are helping me get Twitch affiliate. We are actually 4 followers away from 100 followers on Twitch. Make sure to follow me on Twitch, guys, if you haven't already. Also, use my TCG player affiliate link. Sign up for channel memberships, $5 a month. Use my Whatnot affiliate link. You get $15 free. I get a kickback off that. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. Slendermancer Fenrir was never a brick in the tier build. Jackalope, another free name, and Hollow went hard. Even at 2, that's interesting. I just feel like it's very much cuttable at 2, but fair. Would you see D-Barrier, the summon of the fusion, or... no, I would say D-Barrier on draw phase, frankly, against Branded. If you're playing against Branded and you have an OTK line, you should always D-Barrier them in the draw phase, because that turns off their fusion duplication, which is a card they all main. So if you turn on Thrust, if you plan on turning on Thrust, you should just D-Barrier them, because they will play through your D-Barrier with fusion duplication. If you don't give them the opportunity to put Brand Fusion in the graveyard, that can't happen. Obviously, if they have Shrouded Dragon or Sarnier in opening, they're going to be able to do it anyway, but, you know, you got to do what you can to mitigate your matchup against Branded when they have the pure ability to play through like 3 to 4 hand traps depending on the hand. So you really, I think it is smarter, and this is like goo against Branded, I'm sorry guys, but you should probably D-Barrier them in draw phase. And Raul disagrees with me on this. I know a lot of really good players still D-Barrier on Branded Fusion. I'm just saying, with how much fusion duplications are going around, and I'm in the thick of it. I see all the Branded lists that come out on a daily and weekly basis in our community. I see what people are minting, and people are going to 2 to 3 fusion duplication to play through D-Barrier. So if this is the reason to play through D-Barrier, shouldn't you be doing the thing to play around D-Barrier? Lots of Tenpai hate. I see. Stop hating yourself. Deck. Yes, sir. Slendermancer. Didn't expect a link to pop up. That's funny. No Super Poly. Yeah, I think Super Poly is kind of mid right now, all things considered. However, I think it's still one of our best board breakers, so you're going to be able to use it effectively depending on your build and your meta. Jake the Mountain Man, I'm in 2 card speeds of Eclipse and because I only have 2 Starlights. Ah, the Starlight diff. I understand, brother. That's why I was running 1 Gwignall for a long time, just because I only had 1 QCR. But yeah, I do like this list, Kenji. I actually like the side as well. I'd just give it a Threatening Roar for D-Barrier. It hits a lot more decks and does the same thing against Tenpai. The link line does not really matter. It dies to 1 interruption. Besides that, the Blazing Brand King's cool. I like Stash Steel personally. It helps go for OTKs. I love Stash Steel and Brand. It helps go for OTKs. Helps go over Apo. Helps go over Noir. But yeah. And then also 2 Gwignall is basically standard. You need a Boral, you need a Stapelia, so you might want to consider cutting Nadir for High Spirits to give yourself a bit more room, or start making some hard cuts like Dragoon and Lulu. And maybe like take out the Mud Dragon and the Super Polys for Droplet. I do think Droplet's better than Super Poly on a 1-to-1 basis between the cards right now, though. Definitely, I think Super Poly takes up more advantage, or it takes up more cards to make use out of it. It's also not universally as good as Droplet, and also obviously Droplet's once per turn, where Super Poly is not, but I think that Droplet overall doesn't cost as much advantage as, because you obviously just go Droplet on Luber, dodge Imperm, it's free, or Droplet on Brand Fusion, it's free. Appreciate it, my man. No problem, Kenji, no problem. Shibby in the chat, another channel member in the chat, new channel member. Appreciate you, brother. How you doing? How you doing? You have a spicy deck here. Main deck, Nadir Servant. With the Maximus, you'll love to see it. I do love the Nadir Servant package, even though I've been shitting on it a little bit. You guys know I'm like the biggest advocate in the community of the package. However, I think it's not quite the format for it, just because of the need to run a lot of extract cards. Like, you need Stapelia and you need Boral right now. But if you can fit those cards in and still run Nadir, then more power to you. For that reason, I think you could definitely cut Lulu. Add in a Stapelia. I think you'll get way more use out of Stapelia than Lulu. Stapelia helps you play through your Shifter. Obviously, you have the Boral for Shifter. I think Stapelia is better against Shifter decks. These Shifter decks usually lose to their normal summon getting impermed. Not too much of a change in the main, to be honest. Maybe like consider not too much in the main. Maybe consider super polys, especially if you're running Mud Dragon, or take out the Lulu for Mud Dragon for like a better board breaking package, or going to 3 tactics and then doing the other changes I mentioned. Side deck's pretty spicy. You have the Necroworld Banshee with the Seal to call Buster Blade. You might as well get Dragoon in the side deck if you're running Seal, or sorry, the Light Hex. And then you have the cross out package with D Barrier and Ash. You have the Herald of the Abyss. I understand having Herald for pre-early. I completely understand. And Lightning Storm, like I said, is our best board breaker. I think I'd be maining 3 evenly over the Dark or Zombie World Necro World. And I also don't think, I mean, although it's nice, it's cool and spicy, I don't think the Buster Blade or Fusion is worth it right now. It's very good against Tenpai, but you have Stapelia and Boral, which get over Tenpai just as easily. Tenpai only has 2 plays. If you have 2 interruptions, you know, past their hand traps, you kill them on any hand. Unamused Waffle, why is Boral so mandatory right now? Because it is a quick play spell and trap card destruction. Branded traditionally does not have any main deck options for spell and trap card destruction outside of Guardian Chimera. And ever since mid-last format, at the beginning of Fire format, a certain deck called Runic Stun and other stun variants have cropped up, where you need a main deck, extra deck answer outside of Guardian Chimera to answer these, to Runic specifically, but these other stun decks like Skill Drain, or Skill Drain decks, this card helps, you know, play around it, obviously, by having an onboard presence to always pop spell and trap card. It's also very easy to make in builds with 3 Shrouded Dragon too. Slendermancer, also rate my Voiceless deck here. Okay, we're gonna rate Slendermancer's Voiceless deck. This is crazy. Novok's Prayer, you can also use this to ritual summon Skull Guardian. Can you actually use Novok's Prayer to do Skull Guardian? Oh, it's just regular Skull Guardian. With the Nadir Servant. Okay, so like, what is the ceiling? And then you even have Saphira, Queen of Dragons. So what are we cooking here? So what's the win condition? Because you have 0 negates outside of Saravis, which is an inherent negate, but you do have the Nadir Servant, which I feel like is a card that is very underutilized in Voiceless Voice. When there's branded variants, it's like, why are you not running Nadir? Just run fucking Gimmick Pot, or, you know, run at that point. I mean, obviously you want to stay at 40, but if I was running Voiceless Voice, you guys would see the most teched out Voiceless build. If you guys want to see that anyway, let me know. Joke decks, Slender. At least you have super poly targets, right? Sure, be good. I give this deck 1 out of 10. You got the worst deck of the night, Slendermancer. Congratulations. There is an award that people fight for every night or every time we do roasting deck list, and that is the worst deck list. I think you won the worst deck list. Droplet is legit the best card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Shifter. When Shifter is not there, Simple says Yami. I tend to agree that Droplet, if Shifter did not exist, I think Droplet would be a bannable card, frankly. Like, that card's so good. I wouldn't personally ban, you know, in that case, I would still not ban Droplet. I just think it has some counterplay because of that. And obviously, it's one of the most, it's a well-balanced card, but it's just such a powerful card. Unamused Waffle, he has a bit of an explanation with this one, so we are going to get into the preamble here. As always, still work in progress. I went to Hartford Regional and got bodied by all the hand traps people were rocking. It was a lot more than people at my locals, so I started maxing out on the cards that beat those. Thrust, Talons, Kit, High Spirits, and keep out maxing on the Cartesia. It's definitely what you want to do. Those are all the cards that help you play through hand traps. Nadir is also one of those. Took out the Lulu in favor of the second Gwignall after it kept coming up in testing. Usually if I get to a point where I'm summoning Lulu off a Greg, I'm usually winning already. I feel like that premise isn't that true. Lulu being summoned off a Greg Gwignall only happens when you are getting screwed by a Nibiru, usually, or, you know, your opponent has broken your board, essentially. You know, you shouldn't be, your opponent shouldn't be special summoning monsters through a monster effect unless you are in a losing state, essentially, for the most part. But I understand, I still think the second Gwignall, like before we even get to the list, I think the second Gwignall is better than Lulu. Because, like, obviously it helps you play through Droplet and everything, but we'll get into that after. But I understand. Then I found myself wishing for main deck Super Poly after last week's locals, Tenpai, Chimera, and didn't want to go up to 49, just throw them in. So I swapped them for Droplet in the side deck, and that's the thing I'm most unsure of. So in the main deck, you're maining Super Poly plus 3 Tactics as your board breaker engine with 3 Thrust. I like that enough. Main deck, I like this enough. 3 Cart, 2 Quem, 3 Shrouded. Sorry guys, I'm getting like a sore throat from talking so loud. I'm trying to like calm my voice down a little bit. I haven't had this happen in a while. Do you guys remember that string of streams where like for like 3 weeks in a row, every time I would just get a sore throat? It was kind of like midstream. It was crazy. And then it just stopped. I think that's, I don't know what's going on. It's probably because of my air conditioner, frankly. But also not drinking enough water and keeping my throat lubricated. I like the main deck. Not too much to say about that. Yeah, that's why I'm not gonna like say all too much, just because my throat is killing me right now. I'm trying to lose my voice. So let's look at the extra inside. 2 Grang. Okay, you are on 2 Grang. Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, I think this extra is fine with the Nadir package, which you are not on. Why wouldn't you be on Nadir package at that point, right? Are you siding Nadir? No, you aren't. I'm just confused about bringing up the Lulu stuff without running the Lulu. Maybe you're debating on it. I mean, at that point, I would just main the 3 Nadir and help smooth out some hands personally. That's just me, though. Especially since you already have the Super Poly engine built in. You already have Garura. So it's very free to just throw in the Nadir as a Maximus, but I understand. It helps you play through hand traps, though. I think that build that you currently have is not playing through enough hand traps. Like, you need something to boost your engine right now. You need something to give your advantage tree more options, like getting +1s, +2s, like Allure, like High Spirits, like Nadir, I think. Very imperative right now. A wild random appears. What's up, Samathy? How's it going? Obelisk Blue in the chat. Sammy K. Got a deck for us to roast? Yeah, you do. Hell yeah. I loved your Jujutsu Kaisen prediction, Sammy. We're going to start an anime segment together, and we're also going to start Sammy K's hot take debunk Patreon exclusive. So I'll DM you about the details. I hope you're doing well, though. I mean, I think the side deck you could remove Soul Release. Soul Release is pretty buns right now. Banishment also not great unless you're really afraid of the mirror match. Like, if you find yourself losing the mirrors, definitely main Banishment. But with Super Poly, I think you don't need Banishment, especially. Like, Super Poly really cooks the mirror. It's basically like a spell speed for Banishment. Banishment is nice for getting the Mirror Jade, especially, but I do like the imperms in the side, but I think they're pretty cope. I would just run 3 other hand traps. Like, okay, so guys, like, hand traps are very good in Yu-Gi-Oh, but like they're usually good in combination with other hand traps. So like, if you're gonna run 3 hand traps or like hand traps with Brandy, you want to have another hand trap. Like, that's why at locals last week I ran Nib and Phantasme, so Phantasme could draw me into my Nibs. That kind of thing. If you're running like 1 solo hand trap, it's kind of cope, unless it's Nib. But even then, because Nib is like really high impact or like Droll, Imperm isn't enough high impact personally. I love this. I'm getting some music on, guys. We're gonna get some Xenoblade back in here. I love Xenoblade music, man. Oh, we can do a long night in Xenoblade. No, we're doing. All right. So outside that, yeah, no, I think you could remove the imperms or add 3 more hand traps like a Nib. I think that'd be fine. Remove the Soul Release. Remove the Sarnier. I think Druid Storm's better. I don't think you need Banishment. I don't think you need Herald, but I think Herald's fine. Honestly, I think Herald, with how much Pearly can be in the format, depending on the event and the localized area, I think Herald's a perfectly fine side deck right now. You don't want to auto lose to Purely, so no double Dusk is insane, says Yami. Yeah, I mean, I can understand some people not running double Dust Dragon like I used to, but like obviously I think it's very much optimal at the moment. It just increases your combo lines way too much not to run it. It also helps you set up the anti-droplet, anti-bestial puppet lock. Like, if you're puppet locking, you need to Wignall. If you're not, you really don't. Raigeki Yami running this right now, 2 weeks. I love it. IMO, what do you think, guys? Wow, we got branded sword sighting. Raul would be proud. Shout out to Raul, man. Wonder how he did at locals today. Why is everybody under 50 cards, says Yami? I think people generally believe in not bricking, which is fair. You know, we saw Clifton run 42 and just do fine. I think that really shows you can run branded anyway when people are winning like that or without bestials. Samathy skipped locals today to watch Romans cook Purely Sprite. Bro got top 4 at WCQ. Was that streamed? That's crazy. Purely Sprite's still a deck? Was there any like goo in it, or was it like pretty standard Purely Sprite? All right, we have Yami's deck list in the chat here. Regeki Yami running this right now, 2 weeks. What do you guys think? This is actually quite a spicy list. This is actually something I made a build very similar to this, and I only released it to members. So like I was very much thinking along the same wavelength. I wasn't running the imperms, but the theory is you run Allure with 3 Tragedies and Shiren, and you have Wonderful Mills. Also, Shiren's a great extender to help play. You're always getting Tragedy live that way to through a special summon. Also, what I ended up doing is I ended up adding the Patchwork engine in with 3 Tragedies, so you could always have Allure live and always get your Tragedy search off a Luber with like a Mud Dragon on board, and you haven't even normal summoned, so you can play through Imperm. So I would run the Patchwork engine as your last 5 cards, remove the Imperms, and like put in Pot of Desires and call it 60 cards and see how you like it there, because that's kind of the build I was running. I think Branded Sword is very cool for the grind game. I think without High Spirits though, you should not be running it. So I would run 1 High Spirits or just remove the Branded Sword entirely. It is a nice little retribution piece, but is truly only worth it if you're running Sword or High Spirits to at least still combo with it. Do you know that Voiceless Tech was cooking? Unamused Waffle, would you ever play Shadal Dragon over Boral? I think Shadal Dragon should be standard in most people's side decks for Branded right now. If you don't like losing to Skill Drain, you should be siding Shadal Dragon right now on Branded. It's a one-stop shop for outing Skill Drain. Okay, they go Branded Fusion, you go Branded Fusion, they go Skill Drain, you're like, great. Send Elbaz plus Shadal Dragon, Lupellion 1, Shadal Dragon 2, targeting the Skill Drain. Skill Drain will be off the board, so your Lupellion resolves. Very good, very good. And Wild TV, how's it going, bro? How's it going? Keeping it a little quiet, but I like to bring the high energy whenever you come in, because you're always bringing the high positive energy too. Appreciate you, brother. My voice is about to go though, so I sound like I'm whispering at this point, but very, very happy to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. How's your weekend, Wild? Looking fresh with that haircut, man. Hell yeah, I appreciate it, bro. It's getting so hot here in New York City, or not New York City, New York State. Like 80, 90 degrees the last week, so I just had to get a haircut. I was starting to look like you guys saw me on Locals. Like it rained on me. My hair was nappy. I hated it. So, yeah. So I do like this main deck, though. Outside of those changes, I'd make those changes and let me know what you think about them. Proskinion, I think, is not good without Super Poly. It's a really good Super Poly target. Outside of that, don't run it. But I would just run, I mean, what the hell are you missing and stuff? How are you running Proskinion? What are you missing? You are missing Boral, so yeah, I'd run. You need Boral or Magnum, in my opinion. This is something I've said before. Well, I'll lay it out more explicitly. To contend in this meta and not just lose to a stun deck or a Floodgate, you need to have either 2 Guardian Chimeras or Guardian Chimera plus Boral plus or Magnum the Reliever. You need to have like 2 extra deck options for specifically dealing with spot removal and back row, or else you are going to have a bad time. Oh yeah, I'm drinking that water on Wild. Almost out of it though, but we're gonna try to see. I'd like to keep streaming, but I'm gonna probably have to go after these Decklists, man. My throat's fucking killing me. I could just like mute up and do rank games too, but yeah, no, side deck. Ghost Ogres are kind of interesting. I wouldn't run them at 55 with no other hand traps though. If you're struggling with Tenpai, I think the D barrier will get them most of the time, but also I think Ghost Ogre is fine. I would just maybe run Nibiru over like, the Trap Trick, but the Trap Trick's a little spicy. It's a bit too spicy for a brand in my opinion, but I appreciate the cooking. I think Feather Duster and Shadal Dragon, great choices with the with the Blackout Laughs and the Evenlies. So you have CD Sonic 91 in the chat. This is what I've been testing lately. It's been so crisp. We love crisp decks, folks. Maxie Meg living in Iowa isn't great sometimes. I hate tornado season. Oh my gosh, be careful out there, Maxie. I didn't realize there were tornadoes up in Iowa. I guess that makes sense with all the planes. I just thought that was a Midwest thing. I mean, we like get a tornado every 15 years here in like Western New York, but it's like always like a very like small tornado. Unamused Waffle, what do you think I should take out in favor of Nadir or for a droplet? Because I do want to main deck that, but I've got too many authors in the main I want to keep for hand traps. I think I kind of like gave an explanation when we were going over the deck. I can try to loop back around to your deck if I remember to, though. Just want to get through the decks I've already, or I haven't gotten to yet. I do like this 45 card main deck by UCD Sonic, keeping it tight. Like I said, guys, you gotta know what you're doing and what you want your deck to do when it's coming to branded, especially when it's at 60 cards. When it's at 60 cards, you can very easily brick if your ratios are not correct and you don't have a thought out game plan and just like theory on the deck. And what I mean by theory is a game plan. You know, if you're running, like I said, with the like the Shiren build, the 3 tragedies with the Allure, you know, so you're able to play through hand traps more with the patchwork. There's theory behind that because you can make Mud Dragon to play around Imperm and Effect Veiler with the normal summon of Aluber still being available. So yeah, I do like I'd go three Cartesia, 1 Quem, but you know, if it's like a affordability thing with the Quem, I understand. I'd remove the Magnamut. Not great in the min deck right now. There's not a lot of light and dark decks that Magnamut blow out. Obviously, it's a very good side deck card though, so that's fine if you side it. Aside that, the main deck's pretty fine. I think the lure is a little awkward in a build like this. You need more darks, my man. Like I said before, with Allure, you need to run a 2-in-1 ratio of Mercurier and Tragedy. Pick your poison. In my opinion, Tragedy would go harder in your build. Super Poly Package. I'd also side Nadir Servant. If you already have Guru on Mud Dragon, you should have Nadir Servant somewhere between your main or side. It's just way too free not to with Maximus. Unless you're really afraid of Branded. And then side deck, Nib, and Ogre. I like that as a hand trap package at 45. Clean. Lightning Storm with Evenly's are our best board breakers right now, and some of our best going first cards with Blazing Brand King and the D barrier. I'd just take out Nadir or 2D barrier for Nadir. You don't even have to run Maximus. You could just run Nadir for going first. Maybe even take out the Blazing Branded King, because if you have the 2 Guignol, you really don't need the Blazing Branded King in my opinion, but you know that card is pretty decent against stun. So if you find use out of it, I won't hate. I won't hate on it. All right. We are getting to Sammy Caseless, the hot take master in the chat. Yummy, I mean, Imperm is not bad versus Ash or Apo, even bait negate and don't activate triple tactics. Yeah, like, it's true, but you gotta realize, compare Imperm and Droplet. If you're gonna have one of those, okay, let's just say you only have option to 1 non-engine going second. Imperm or Droplet, which is better? It's always Droplet, because Imperm, yes, you can use it on your opponent's turn, but it's most likely going to be much more low impact, so that your 1 Imperm is not going to stop their board. More than likely, I'd say about 50% of the time, an Imperm will not pass a person. So I think that in that case, you know, I think for that case, you know, running more high impact stuff would be better. Or sorry, in that case, Droplet's a lot better. You know, Droplet you can use on your turn. You can turn off the Apo. You can deal with the established board without them being able to react. So that's why I think if you're going to run one or the other, Droplet's way better. Sammy, my stream crashed for a second. Missed the Purely Sprite. Furious Dragon, yes please. I like the one of High Spirit that was without no Albion, no. I mean, it's fine though. It still helps on brick hands. You run 3 Albaz and maybe 1 Albion, that's fine. So Sammy's deck list here. We have the 3 Aluber plus the 3 Albaz plus the 2 Quem, 2 Cartesia with the Adlib. How are you liking Adlib right now? And then, more importantly, you are running the Allure package at 50. How would you like the Mercurier plus the 2 Tragedy? That's something I've been trying to test out more too. We saw someone running it earlier. Definitely curious. With the crossout package too in the side, I mean, outside the main deck, I mean, I think the main deck's very good. I like the double red. I like the High Spirits, the 3 Shrouded Dragon. Very good, very good. You do have the Puppet too. You'll love to see it. With the Droplet, like with Allure, I would not even, you know, I think Tactics is fine as a one of. You don't want brick on spells. I'd say maybe. And the Adlib's cool with Allure, right? I just think you might have an issue with too many bricks between the Adlib and the 2 Tragedy and 2 Merc. So that's something you could consider for, you know, future editions. But there's not a whole lot of other better options. Like, I like Tier Shiren personally. That's something you could consider. Extra deck, pretty standard. 2 Guignol, 1 Alba, 1 Stipelia, 1 Boral. You got what you need for this format. No 1 Albion weirdness. 15 cards in the side deck. Of course, we have the Bestials plus the Druid Storm. I feel like Magnamut, and Shadal Dragon are very much 2 cards that should be standard in your branded list outside of 3 evenly matched. Those 5 cards should probably be in every branded sideboard for the most part, in my opinion. Magnemite just being a generic card deciding going second against any deck that has a light or dark access. So it's a Rhoda. Shadal Dragon good against any deck going second, essentially, that has a back row that could potentially floodgate you. I think that Albalanetus is also very good. So, and then you have the crossout package. You guys gotta let me know. How are you liking the crossout package? Is it actually coming up for you guys for the D barrier? Gotta let me know, because for me, I feel like more proactive cards like Fusion Duplication, Nadir Servant, even though people could play around Fusion Duplication, in that case, I still think it's like better than crossout. There's just not enough mirror matches to justify crossout. I think crossout's very much like a lullaby kind of card where you're gonna main it. If you're expecting some mirror matches. Obviously, we are the deck that quote-unquote loses to Ash, but I think we've kind of moved past that with cards like Quem, Cartesian, and Thrust, to where crossout isn't really... I mean, obviously, we're doing it for D-Barrier here, but what if they don't see D-Barrier? Then you just bricked and lost because you drew crossout going first, or going second, you know? Obviously, if they brick, that's fine, but I'm saying, like, they didn't see the D-Barrier. Snatch Shield, Hail of the Abyss, very nice. Alright, so we got 2 or 3 more lists. Raul out here sending me a list. What do we have here? Maxis. This is Maxi in the chat. They're Tenpai deck. 40 cards with the Santa Claus. Why do people like Santa Claus? Why do people like Santa Claus in Tenpai? I've been seeing that lately. I've been seeing people want Santa Claus lately. Is there like an interaction I don't know about? I mean, it's a Tenpai deck, you know, you got the hand trap package, imperms. I'd say maybe Nib might go hard, but obviously, like, I think this is fine. Rivalry is very good. I'd always made Rivalry in Tenpai, frankly. It's a board breaker. I just take out the Santa Clauses unless there's, like, an actual point to it that I'm not understanding. If not, take out the Bestials. I think Magnet's just fine, though. I just think you need to be at like 40 cards for Tenpai so that you see your monsters. You just need to, or else you die. Very much a glass cannon kind of deck. Extra deck looks pretty good. You have the Link package too to play through, theoretically, to play through D-Barrier. Oh god. Here's Raul's Dragon Link goo. I've never played Dragon Link, but I respect Dragon Link. And wait, why are there 3 Chaos Space? Is this full power? What am I looking? Chaos Ruler? LP? I didn't realize LP was a Link 1. What? How was this card ever made? Special summon 1 dragon from your hand or deck to your 2 or more Link zone. That's crazy. It's just an E-Telly for any dragon. Like what? It's so dumb. Aggro Pain, 2 dragon monsters, special summon 1 dragon from your extra deck. So good. You can obviously just summon Chaos Ruler. I don't think you would ever. I think you would actually just summon a Hot Rod Dragon. But yeah, this full power Dragon Link. Just him reliving his days, but also Delinquent Duo is just funny with Forceful Sentry. This gets award for the most wishful deck of the night. Thanks for your submission, Raul. And is this our? No, this is our second last deck list because Irina set in their deck list too. So I'll get Yuri's right after this. So Irina's deck list. They messaged me to review. So 55 cards in the main deck, 3 Shroud Dragon, 3 Nadir with the Super Poly Droplet package. At 55 cards, I think that's fine. I think the Dragoon is quite cuttable though, so I'd cut that for the second Mirror Jade. I think a lot, you know, obviously 1 Mirror Jade's very doable, but I think you need Adlib for that, so that you are able to recycle it, or a Shiren. If you don't have either of those options, 1 Mirror Jade is asking to just lose to a Fenrir, you know, and other things like that. That could just like randomly get rid of your Mirror Jade. A lot of the time, you want to like use your first Mirror Jade as a tool to break your opponent's board and then just throw the second one in to secure the board a lot of the time. You can't just get back that Mirror Jade in the graveyard, so I think this main deck is pretty fine. I like the main deck actually a lot. I think it's actually quite solid, and this is what you're probably looking at for a Nadir type of build, just minus the Dark Magician. Oh, High Spirits could also go to 1. Yeah, I think it breaks too much with Nadir. Just too many spells, plus like the board breaker package, so put High Spirits to 1.